Hey there folks, today I'd like to take a casual peek into the Transformers Combiner Wars Dead End Transformable Action Figure set from Hasbro. This set is part of the second wave of Deluxe Class Combiner Wars figures and is numbered 2 of 5 to build the Menasor Combiner. This set usually sells anywhere from $15 to $20 depending on where you purchase it, and I was able to purchase this set through Amazon and paid, I think it was like $16 to $18, I can't remember. But taking a closer peek at Dead End here, you can see the Transformer here, the member of the Stunticons, a Decepticon team of Transformers that combine to create Menasor. And you can see him there with some accessories, which is pretty cool. And pretty interesting color scheme of what looks like a maroonish red and gray. And a bit of copper, so pretty cool. And behind the figure you could see that there is a comic book. I believe it's a reprint of an IDW older issue, but just the cover has been, I guess, redone to be an exclusive cover of Dead End there. Pretty neat. And down here you could see a picture of Dead End in his alt mode, that of a nice sports car there. On the side of the packaging you can see a sticker here at the top of Menasor, where you can take Dead End and combine him with the other Transformers. And you have another picture here of Menasor, an artist rendition. And you can see that Dead End is number 2 of 5 in the Menasor Combiner. Just a plain window there to showcase more of the Transformer figure. Down here you just have a barcode and some publishing information there. Here is the back of the packaging, and you can see here a very brief description of Dead End with a picture of the figure in both modes, and it takes 11 steps to combine, or not combine, but to transform between those modes there. Over here on the right you can see what looks like a schematic type diagram of Menasor, and also you can see that he becomes the arm of Menasor, but you don't have to relegate him to an arm. You can have him as a leg as well, and you don't have to put him to Menasor. You can actually combine him with other figures to create other combiner figures. But Dead End is most closely associated with the Stunticons and Menasor. Down here you could see other figures that are able to be combined into Menasor. You have Drag Strip, Dead End, Motormaster, Breakdown, and Off-Road. So that's pretty neat there. Now we'll be right back and have the contents of this set out of the packaging. Okay, we have the contents of the Dead End set out of the packaging, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at what's included besides the actual figure. And to get started, we have here the transformation instructions, and it shows you how to transform Dead End from bot mode to alt mode and back on a sort of fold out type of instruction sheet instead of a folded up instruction sheet, which is pretty interesting there. And on the other side you have a schematic diagram of Menasor and all of the possible figures that you can put to assemble a Menasor. You don't have to use the ones listed on here, but it's sort of recommended because in the lore, the figures or characters are closely associated with Menasor here. One exception may be Off-Road. He's the newest member. He did replace another member on the team. So if you want, you can use Off-Road as a default team of the Stunticons. You can also use the original member, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And here are instructions on how to assemble a Dead End here into one of the two combiner modes, either an arm or a leg there. So that's kind of neat. Next thing we'll take a look at is the comic book here with Dead End on the cover. This is an exclusive cover of a reprint. A reprint of, as it shows here on the inner page, Combiner Wars number 8. Now I'm not sure if that was the original title or if that's the title specific to these customized comic books or not. I haven't done enough research to find out if it's a customized series put together or a reprint of an original issue. I'm gonna guess it's a reprint of an original issue, whether it's like More Than Meets the Eye or another subtitle of the Transformers. I don't know, so because they don't indicate that or not. So, but it's a pretty colorful issue here, and I haven't read it all the way through because it's sort of in the middle of the story, even though they give you a little blurb here of the story so far. But I like to collect all of the possible reprints to see if the stories link up or not. I'm gonna guess that they do, and I don't think I have all of the issues, so we'll have to just find out. The inner cover is certainly customized and not a reprint. Here on the back inside cover you can see the on-deck genesis of Dead End from sketch phase to model phase, and a finished product there. And also some artist, looks like mock-ups or designs for the figure, and then you probably have some renderings there, computer renderings of the figure, so which is pretty cool. In the back of this customized cover has the pictures of Dead End in both bot and alt modes, and a little statistical information there are not the stats that are normally associated with Transformers. They don't include that either on the comic or on the packaging, which is unfortunate. It looks like they did away with that, but which is I kind of miss. And here is a write-up by Soundwave of Dead End. There. Pretty interesting. Next thing I'll take a look at are the accessories that come included with Dead End. First up, we have here a piece that can be used for Menasor, either a foot or a hand, whichever you choose to use, which is pretty cool. You can see the detail on here. The shade is in purple plastic, although the camera shows it in a bluish tint. It's really purple when you see it in person. It's just my color processing on my camera is not working correctly on that on the shade of purple there. But yeah, you can see the sculpting detail on here is actually quite nice. And you can see a couple blasters there. And this piece is actually configured in foot mode at the moment. So these blasters are actually the toes for Menasor, and a heel spur here. And it does articulate on the back heel there, as well as I believe, yeah, bends downwards as well. on the foot, and then you have a peg here, so it can act as a swivel as well, so that's kind of neat. Now I did mention that it can be used for hand mode as well, which is pretty neat. Underneath the foot you have a piece here which you can flip open, if I can get a decent grip there. You can flip that open and then flip the heel spur around, and that'll configure it into hand mode. This piece becomes the fingers, this becomes the thumb. And the thumb can actually also swivel left and right, so depending on you want a left-handed hand piece or a right-handed hand piece, you just have to switch this thumb's position. Right now it's set for a left hand. Whoops, sorry about that. It's configured for a left hand there, and you switch this over and it becomes a right hand. So pretty interesting. And now all the fingers are joined, but they do move as one piece there for opening closing mechanism of the hands there. So very interesting. And what once were the toes can now act as hand blasters. So pretty interesting. There's also peg holes on either side if you want to attach a weapon piece there onto there, which is interesting there, or stick it out on the side like that. So pretty interesting there. So, and these seem to become included with the deluxe sets. And then we have this piece here, which is a weapon of Dead Ends. It looks like a smokestack type of thing, or exhaust pipe on there, and has two pegs on this end and on that end, and can be used for most, I guess 5mm peg holes. And you can see Dead End here in his alt mode has a peg hole on the side, so you can attach it here, and I guess it acts as an exhaust port for Dead End in alt mode. Or if you can attach it on here, I guess it's sort of a blaster, or maybe this way, the blaster firing forward there. So that's kind of neat. Or just a needed smokestack there, or unneeded I should say, but and there's another peg hole there, but you can attach this piece to wherever a 5mm peg hole is located. And you can see this is in a gray colored plastic, unpainted, but does have some sculpting detail on there. You can see on the sides there, and also on the end here. So it can be used as an accessory piece or a weapon piece there. So pretty neat. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at Dead End right now. Okay, we have Dead End here in his alt mode, and his alt mode is that of a nice looking sports type of racing type vehicle. It's actually quite neat. I actually like it quite a bit in this alt mode, and it's got a nice color combination as well of this maroonish reddish color, and you have a copper type color, or I guess a racing stripe going on there, which is very, very cool. And you got black tinted windows. It's actually painted on, not tinted. And you also have this very nice metallic gray on the side here. Although I wish this part here wasn't gray. I wish they had painted that to match the red here, or the red plastic there at the top. But that's okay. It's not too bad. And then you have some nice wheels here with the rims painted in silver to complement the side painting of the car there. It's actually quite cool. And you got more silver here in a brighter silver for the headlights, which is kind of neat. And then you also have the Decepticon logo, which is off-shifted a little bit, which I really like. Oftentimes they'll have it right dead center, but this one's off shifted to accommodate the racing stripes there. So, but I really like an off shifted logo. It's actually kind of cool. Got some more gray here on the front bumper, right there, and going to the back, you have bits of silver here and I like to say Batmobile exhaust, but it's a single exhaust there, which acts as a peg hole for the foot in foot mode on there. So pretty interesting. And then you have tail lights here in silver, 2 little dots there in silver, which is actually kind of cool. And that's actually the metallic pin for the transformation on there, but it's still kind of cool that they have that little bits of silver there. Underneath, you could see it's pretty interesting. It doesn't show too much of the bot itself, which is kind of nice. You have some bits of copper there. This is painted just like the racing stripe on top. Very cool. So kind of neat that it doesn't show too much of the robot, although you could see the shoulder or knee joint there. So, but it's still embedded in there to look very much a part of the alt mode. So kind of cool. Now this car does roll, not too freely on mine. I think it's due to the very low clearance. But you can see it does, the wheels do roll, but you can feel a little bit of resistance when you push it along. So I think the clearance here is just rubbing slightly, especially right here in this area. So, and also when I had transformed this, it did not want to stay in its position. Like, oftentimes it's bent downward here. I've had to push it up into place. It doesn't like to sit too well, so you have to make adjustments quite often to keep it in place. And also this area here, it's nice and closed, well, relatively closed here on the top portion, but the bottom portion over here doesn't want to stay, and if you push it too much into a closed position, this opens up a little bit. So I guess it's what you actually prefer, the top or bottom to be closed up. In alt mode, I'd prefer the top portion to be closed up. Well, that actually exposes a bit of a gap here on the bottom, but I don't know if that's common with other dead ends or not, but it's certainly with mine. You can't have both. You can see when you try to push it into place, it still tends to want to open up on either side. So, which is unfortunate. But this is Dead End in his alt mode. Very nice looking racing vehicle. Okay, we have here Dead End in one of his 2 combiner modes. That of leg mode, and it's a really simple transformation, especially from his alt mode. You just basically flip the top and front part back over and attach the foot part there, and this is how it's officially listed in the Hasbro transformation instructions. Rather blah in this particular mode. I guess you could do a little bit of things here to add a little bit your own flavor if you want to add, like say a knee guard, or for the Menasor figure you can add you can move that up a little bit, but there's not much variation you can do. I guess you could open up the side of the vehicle here if you want to expand it a little bit. Let me just pop it out. If you want to add just a little bit of variety here. I don't know if I can get this out. Yeah, there we go. If you want to add a little bit of variety to your leg mode, you can do things such as fan that out or whatever you want to do. It's really up to you, but I just wanted to mention that the Hasbro method for the leg mode is just rather plain looking, which is unfortunate. I think it could use a little bit more imagination for a leg mode on there, but that's such as it is. But again, it's really up to you what you want to do to configure it into the different modes. Here, let me just put this back into the default position, which was this right there. Well, one thing I do want to mention is that gap I mentioned in the alt mode is more evident here, which is really, I think, kind of a miss. I wish they had added sort of a clasp onto this bottom end to keep it in place, but mine tends to push out on there. Again, I don't know if that's just related to my figure alone, or if this is more of a widespread problem. But if adding a flip over type of clasp to keep these two particular joints together would have been nice, but mine tend to come undone rather easily when you just move the figure or piece around. So, but as far as articulation is concerned, you really just have the joint at the knee here on a ratcheted type of joint, and then the swivel here for the foot, and of course the associated joints with the back heel of the toes there. So, but that's Dead End in his leg mode. Here we have Dead End in his other combiner mode, that of an arm of Menasor or other combiner figure, and it's pretty interesting, a lot more interesting than his leg mode, which was really simple, and it's got some, or at least I have some minor issues with this as an arm mode. One of the major ones is just really this big old gap right here at the wrist area, and also let me just pull the hand off here. The major issue I had with Dead End in his other modes of the alt mode and the leg mode is that the gap issue here. You can see it's okay over here, but on the other side there's this big old gap right there. And as I mentioned earlier, a folding clasp over to here to secure that piece would have been nice. Oops, I popped that open there. Let me just close that up. And that tends to happen when you try to close that gap. It tends to either come undone or exposes the back end of here when you secure that close. So something to secure this piece better would have been nice. And I just really don't like that big open space here at the wrist. It's covered somewhat by the hand, but it's just sort of an eyesore for me in hand mode there. And another issue I have is that Hasbro did not fully utilize the joints for the arm of Menasor here in arm mode. As it is in the default instructions, it basically has a single joint here, but just a simple twist of what is normally the waist area of Dead End there. Just a simple 180 twist, and you have double jointed action now, both up here and at what are the knees. So now you have a double jointed arm here. Why Hasbro elected to just use this mode with a single joint for Menasor really puzzles me. I don't know why. I think they did not want to have this area as part of the outer arm, but I would prefer it this way, utilizing a double joint system for the arm there. That is just just really puzzles me why Hasbro didn't take advantage of that for combiner mode. And then, of course, you can play around with, you don't have to use Hasbro's designation. You can play around with the shoulder here. If you wanted more of an upswept type shoulder, you could do that. You can play around with the doors, however to your liking. And that's what I plan to do with my Minosaur. I don't really like the stock mode of of Dead End, either in leg or arm mode, and I plan to change mine a little bit, change it up a little bit when I produce or assemble my Minosaur figure. But this is essentially the arm mode for Dead End there. Let me just try to put it back into the default stock mode there. I think it was like that, and of course you got to twist that back around. But this is the arm mode or for Dead End. And we have here a Dead End in his robot mode. And I gotta say, I really do like Dead End here in his robot mode. Much better than either combiner mode or the, and slightly better than his alt mode. I think it's one of the better designed Stunticons from the Combiner Wars line, and just actually quite nice. Looking at the figure here, you can see he's primarily in this maroon reddish color with a mix of gray, different colors of gray, by the way, which is pretty cool and just really nice. And there's also little touches of copper on the arms, on the face, and on the legs there, and of course the racing stripe from his alt mode over here and here. So really cool, and also just a little splash of black from the windows that are actually kind of hidden a little bit. But I think it's one of the nicer designed Stunticons in their robot modes, and it's just very cool. Especially I like the chest compared to drag strips, in that Dead End has a basically a cover flap to cover the exposed joint when in combiner mode, and instead of using the joint as a part of the torso chest, I added this little cover flap to hide that a bit, and which is really nice. And then you have some nice detailing here on the chest. You can see in the silver here, which is really cool. And then you have the Decepticon logo stamped on there, tampographic stamp there, which is very cool. Also a nice detail is the head sculpt, especially with the mix of the copper color for the face mask and the gray of the helmet there, which is pretty cool. And he's got a visor there that's colored in purple. I think that's painted on there, which is really cool. And then what were the side painting of doors are the arms here, which is has a nice blend of that red and gray there, which is really cool. And of course that copper accent on here, and just nice combination of colors and sculpt makes Dead End a much better robot mode than his combiner modes. So very cool. And you can see that he's wielding his weapon as sort of a club here, and you have another peg here. I guess you can use it as a blaster of some sort, but seems a little bit sillier with the upswept end there. So smoke blaster of some sort, maybe. I guess he has to aim it downwards in order to fire it forwards on there, if you're gonna do it that way. But I prefer it as a melee weapon here for Dead End, which is pretty cool. Going over articulation of Dead End here, the head is on a ball joint, so it can go pretty much all the way around. and can go up and down slightly and side to side slightly, not too much since there's very low clearance between the head and the torso there. The arms are on a ball socketed joint, allows the arm to go all the way around at the shoulder, as well as out this much and inwards about that much. And there's an additional joint at the torso, so you can actually move the arm up and down, and that's really more for transformation, but it's still a nice added articulation point for the shoulder area. The arms do go all the way around at the bicep area. The elbows do bend about 90 degrees there and does straighten out. And the hands are on a sort of a soft type of ratchet on here, so it does fold in and out, more for transformation than anything else, but due to the way it's sculpted in there, you can't move the hand anywhere else, just in and out on there. There is no torso articulation as with most Transformers, but there is waist articulation, so you can move the torso all the way around, so that's nice. And there's nice articulation at the legs at the hip area. Allows you to move the leg all the way up about that much, back that much, and out to the side quite a bit, just due to the ball socket joint there at the hip. So that's kind of cool. There is a rotation at the top of the thigh area, and there is articulation for the knee to bend the lower leg back about that far and straighten it out that much. And that's about it for articulation. There's none for the feet, since the feet and lower leg are just basically one piece. And it is angled a little bit, so most of the time you'll have a dead end when posed in a outward leg stance there most of the time, just to get the bottom ends flush. But really decent figure in bot mode, one that I enjoy quite a bit, and I really like this in compared to the other Stunticons. Is probably one of my favorites in the Stunticon Combiner Wars line. But very cool figure to have, especially in bot mode, and I guess one of the essential pieces for Menasor. But this is my casual peek into the Transformers Combiner Wars Dead End. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.